The cake sat on the kitchen counter untouched. 27 candles waiting to be lit. Maya Harrison's hands trembled as she steadied herself against the granite countertop, her other hand instinctively moving to her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant, and her husband Marcus had just told her to pack her things. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her mother-in-law's heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Marcus stood in the doorway of what had been their home for 3 years, his arms crossed, his face a mask of cold indifference. Behind him, his parents, Richard and Patricia Harrison, watched with expressions that looked disturbingly close to satisfaction. And beside them, wearing Maya's robe, was Amber, Marcus's colleague. The woman Maya had asked about 6 months ago, only to be told she was paranoid. "It's your birthday," Maya said, her mind struggling to process what was happening. "We were supposed to celebrate. I made your favorite dinner. I baked a cake." "Change of plans." Marcus's voice was flat, emotionless. "Amber and I have been talking, and we've decided it's time to make things official. This pretending, it's exhausting for everyone." Maya's legs nearly gave out. She gripped the counter harder, her engagement ring catching the afternoon light. The ring Marcus had proposed with on a beach in Mexico, promising her forever. That was 4 years ago, before she'd gotten pregnant. Before she'd gained 60 pounds carrying his child. Before everything had changed. Pretending? The word came out broken. "Marcus, I'm pregnant with your baby. We're married." "What are you talking about?" Patricia Harrison stepped forward, her designer purse clutched in her manicured hands like a weapon. "Maya, dear, let's be realistic. This marriage was a mistake from the beginning. Marcus needs someone who fits into our world. Someone who understands our lifestyle." The unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Someone who isn't black. Someone who didn't grow up in a small apartment in the Bronx. Someone whose mother wasn't a nurse working double shifts. Someone who belonged. Maya had known, from the moment Marcus brought her home to meet his parents 3 years ago, that they'd never fully accepted her. The subtle comments about her hair, her clothes, her background. The way Patricia would correct her grammar at family dinners. The way Richard would ask where she really came from, as if being born in New York wasn't American enough. But she'd told herself love was enough. That Marcus had chosen her despite his family's reservations. That their baby would bridge whatever gaps remained. She'd been wrong. "I want you out by tonight," Marcus said, checking his watch like he had somewhere more important to be. "Take what you can carry. Everything else stays." "Tonight?" Maya's voice rose with panic. "Marcus, I'm 8 months pregnant. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore." He pulled out his phone, showing her the screen. Their joint bank account, the one with $18,000 they'd been saving for the baby, for emergencies, for their future, showed a balance of 0 none. Maya's blood went cold. "What did you do?" "I transferred it to my personal account this morning. It's my money. I earned it. You've been living off me for 3 years while you played house." The words hit like physical blows. Maya had worked part-time at a nonprofit until 6 months into her pregnancy. When complications had forced her to quit, she'd spent the past 2 months on bed rest, following doctor's orders, trying to keep their baby healthy. And now Marcus was acting like she'd been some kind of parasite. "The car's in my name too," Marcus continued, pulling keys from his pocket. "So I'll need those back." Maya's hands shook as she reached into her purse, pulled out the keys to the Honda they'd bought together, and placed them on the counter next to the untouched birthday cake. Her phone buzzed, a text message. She glanced down. It was from Amber. A photo of her and Marcus kissing in Maya's bedroom, Marcus's hand on Amber's flat stomach. The message read, "Happy birthday, fat bitch. Thanks for keeping him warm until I was ready. Enjoy being homeless." The cruelty of it, the calculated, deliberate cruelty, made Maya's vision blur with tears. But she wouldn't cry. Not in front of them, not while they were all watching her, waiting for her to break so they could feel justified in their choices. "I need to get some things from upstairs," Maya said quietly, forcing her voice to stay steady. "You have 30 minutes, Marcus replied. "After that, I'm changing the locks." Maya climbed the stairs slowly, each step an effort with the weight of her belly and the crushing reality of what was happening. 30 minutes to pack a life. 30 minutes before she'd be on the street with nowhere to go. In the bedroom, her bedroom, where she'd slept beside Marcus for 3 years, where they'd made love and made plans and made a baby. She pulled out a duffel bag and started grabbing clothes. Maternity pants, oversized shirts, underwear, socks, nothing fancy. Nothing that reminded her of happier times. Her phone was dead. Of course it was. She plugged it in, waited for it to power up, and saw 17 missed calls from her mother. Catherine Robinson had called all day, probably wanting to wish her daughter happy birthday. Probably worried when Maya didn't answer. Maya couldn't call her back, not yet. Not while her voice would crack and reveal everything. Her mother was battling stage 3 breast cancer, going through her second round of chemo. She didn't need this stress. She needed to focus on surviving. Maya's father had died when she was 12, a heart attack that took him suddenly, leaving Catherine to raise Maya alone on a nurse's salary. They'd scraped by, but there had never been extra, never been savings, never been a safety net. And now Maya had nothing too. No money, no home, no husband, and a baby coming in 4 weeks. She grabbed a framed photo from the nightstand, her and her mother at Maya's college graduation. Catherine beaming with pride, Maya in cap and gown, both of them believing in a future that felt impossibly far away now. At the bottom of her drawer, underneath old t-shirts, Maya's fingers brushed against an envelope. Cream-colored, slightly worn, with her name written in handwriting she didn't recognize. She pulled it out, confused. She'd never seen this before. The envelope was sealed, marked, "For Maya, open only in emergency." Her hand shook as she tore it open. Inside was a letter written on expensive paper, the handwriting elegant and masculine. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong. I pray you never needed this letter, but I prepared for the worst. There are things about your family you don't know. Things your mother and I agreed to keep hidden to protect you. But you deserve the truth, and you deserve the resources to fight back when the world tries to break you. In the safe deposit box at Chase Manhattan Bank, Box 891, you'll find documents that will change everything. The key is taped to the back of this letter. Your mother knows about this. She'll explain when you're ready to hear it. But know this, you are not alone. You have never been alone. And you come from a family that built empires while others tried to keep us small. Show them what a Robinson woman can do. With love and hope for your future, someone who has always watched over you." The letter wasn't signed, but there was a phone number at the bottom, and taped to the back, exactly as promised, was a small silver key. Maya's mind raced. Her mother had never mentioned anything about family wealth, about secrets, about anything except working hard and surviving. But the letter was real. The key was real. And something in her chest, some instinct she couldn't name, told her this was real too. "Time's up," Marcus's voice shouted from downstairs. "If you're not down here in 2 minutes, I'm coming up there." Maya shoved the letter and key into her pocket, grabbed the duffel bag, and took one last look around the bedroom. Then she walked downstairs, her head high despite everything screaming inside her. Marcus, Amber, and his parents were waiting by the door like a firing squad. Amber had her hand on Marcus's arm, possessive and smug. Patricia held her phone up, probably ready to record Maya's departure for some twisted family archive. "Keys?" Marcus held out his hand. Maya pulled out her house keys, the ones she'd carried for 3 years, the ones that had represented home and safety and belonging, and dropped them into his palm without a word. "Good," Marcus said. "Now get out." Maya picked up her duffel bag, adjusted it on her shoulder, and walked toward the door. As she passed Amber, the woman leaned in close and whispered, "He never loved you. He just felt sorry for you." Maya stopped, turned, looked at Amber with eyes that had stopped crying and started calculating. "You have no idea what you just did," Maya said quietly. "Neither of you do." "Is that a threat?" Marcus laughed. "What are you going to do, Maya? Sue me? You can't even afford a lawyer." Maya didn't respond. She just walked out the door into the cold November evening, 8 months pregnant with nowhere to go and everything to lose. Behind her, she heard the door slam, heard the locks click, heard Amber's laughter mixing with Patricia Harrison's approving murmur. Maya stood on the sidewalk in front of the house that used to be hers, one hand on her belly, the other clutching the mysterious letter in her pocket. The baby kicked hard, as if telling her to move, to survive, to figure this out. She started walking. The nearest women's shelter was 4 miles away. 4 miles in November, cold, 8 months pregnant, carrying everything she owned in a single duffel bag. But as she walked, her fingers kept touching that letter, that key, that impossible promise of something more. She didn't know it yet. But Marcus Harrison had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He'd kicked out a woman who was about to discover she wasn't just Catherine Robinson's daughter. She was the heir to a man who'd been searching for her for 27 years. A man whose net worth exceeded anything the Harrison family could imagine. A man who would move heaven and earth to protect his newly discovered daughter. And when the truth came out, when every lie and every betrayal was exposed, Marcus Harrison would spend the rest of his life wishing he'd just lit those 27 birthday candles. Maya made it to the shelter as darkness fell, her feet aching, her body exhausted, her mind numb from shock. The St. Catherine's Women's Center sat on a quiet street in Harlem, a converted brownstone with warm lights glowing in the windows. A place that had saved countless women. A place that would now save her. The intake coordinator, a black woman in her 50s named Denise, took one look at Maya's pregnant belly and immediately brought her inside. "How far along?" Denise asked, guiding Maya to a chair in the quiet office. 8 months, due in 4 weeks. Denise's eyes softened with a mix of compassion and fury that Maya recognized, the look of someone who'd seen this story too many times. "Let me guess. Husband kicked you out?" Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "We see it all the time, baby. Men think pregnancy makes us weak. They don't realize it makes us warriors." Denise pulled out paperwork. "We have a room available. Clean bed, shared bathroom, 3 meals a day. You can stay through your pregnancy and for 3 months after birth while you figure things out." The kindness, after hours of cruelty, finally broke through Maya's defenses. The tears came hard and fast, Months of stress, weeks of bed rest, hours of betrayal, all pouring out in Denise's small office. "I have nowhere else to go," Maya sobbed. "My mother's sick. I can't burden her with this. I don't have money. I don't have anything." Denise handed her tissues and waited, the way good counselors do, until the storm passed. "You have yourself," Denise said finally. "You have that baby. And you have this place for as long as you need it. That's not nothing, Maya. That's everything." Maya spent her first night in a single room with a twin bed, thin blanket, and small window overlooking the street. She could hear other women in nearby rooms, some crying, some talking quietly, some sleeping the exhausted sleep of people who'd survived another day. She pulled out the mysterious letter, reading it again under the harsh fluorescent light. The words felt impossible. Family secrets, empire, resources to fight back. At midnight, Maya couldn't wait any longer. She called the number at the bottom of the letter. It rang 3 times before a man's voice answered. Deep, cultured, careful. "Ms. Robinson?" Maya's breath caught. "How do you know my name?" "Because I've been waiting 27 years for you to call this number. My name is William Chen. I'm an attorney, and I represent your biological father." The words hung in the air, impossible and terrifying. "My father died when I was 12, Maya whispered. "Daniel Robinson was the man who raised you, and by all accounts, he was a good man who loved you deeply," William said gently. "But biologically, you're the daughter of Samuel Richardson, and Samuel has been looking for you since the day your mother left him." Maya's mind spun. "What are you talking about? My mother never mentioned—" "Your mother had her reasons for keeping this secret. Reasons she can explain better than I can. But Samuel Richardson is alive, Maya. He's successful beyond measure. And when your mother contacted me 2 weeks ago, when she learned about your situation with Marcus Harrison, she activated a plan that's been in place since you were born." "My mother contacted you?" Maya's hand instinctively moved to her belly. She knew what Marcus was planning? She suspected. Mother's intuition, she called it. She called Samuel, told him it was time, asked him to have documents prepared. William paused. She also told him she's sick, that she wants to see you protected before she's gone. The grief that crashed through Maya was physical. Her mother knew she was dying, had known for weeks, maybe months, had been planning this, arranging this, making sure her daughter would survive what was coming. "I don't understand," Maya said through tears. "If Samuel Richardson is my father, why wasn't he there? Why did we struggle? Why did my mom work herself to exhaustion?" "That's a conversation you need to have with both of them," William said carefully. "But I can tell you this. Samuel never knew you existed until 2 weeks ago. Your mother had her reasons for keeping that secret, and now she's ready for the truth to come out." "Where is he?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. "He's been in Dubai for the past month on business, but he's flying back tomorrow. He'll be in New York by Sunday." William's voice softened. "Maya, I need you to listen carefully. The safe deposit box your mother's letter mentioned, it contains documentation of your paternity, trust fund documents, property deeds, and other materials that will make sense of all this. Can you get to the Chase Manhattan branch on 42nd Street tomorrow?" "I don't have any money for cab fare. I'm at a women's shelter in Harlem." There was a long pause. When William spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "Your father is going to be devastated that you've been in a shelter for even one night. A car will pick you up at 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow. Black Mercedes, driver named Thomas. He'll take you to the bank, then to my office. We'll explain everything. I don't know if I can believe this, Maya whispered. This feels like some kind of cruel joke. I understand. Your life has taught you that good things don't just happen, that safety nets don't exist, that you have to fight for everything alone. But Maya, you're about to learn that some fights, you don't have to fight alone. Some battles, your family fights for you. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark, processing impossible information. Her father was alive. Her mother had kept this secret for 27 years. And somewhere, a man named Samuel Richardson, a man she'd never met, had been searching for her since she was born. She pulled out her phone, called her mother's number. It went straight to voicemail. Catherine was probably asleep, exhausted from chemo, her body fighting cancer while her daughter's world collapsed. Mom, Maya said after the beep. I found the letter. I called the number. I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay, but I'm safe. I'm at St. Catherine's shelter. I have so many questions. But they can wait. Just please get better. Please fight. I need you. She hung up, wrapped herself in the thin blanket, and lay on the twin bed, one hand on her belly, feeling the baby kick and turn. Your grandmother is fighting cancer, Maya whispered to her unborn daughter. Your father just kicked us out. And apparently, your grandfather is a billionaire I've never met. This family is a mess, baby girl. But we're going to be okay. Somehow, we're going to be okay. The next morning, at exactly 900 a.m., a black Mercedes pulled up in front of St. Catherine's shelter. Maya watched from the window as a driver in a professional suit stepped out and approached the entrance. Denise knocked on her door. Girl, do you have a rich friend you didn't tell me about? Because there's a man downstairs asking for you with a car that costs more than this whole building. Maya grabbed the letter, the key, and her duffel bag. Her heart pounded as she descended the stairs, aware of other women watching, curious and hopeful, that maybe good things could still happen to women like them. The driver, Thomas, was in his 60s with kind eyes and a respectful demeanor. Ms. Robinson, I'm here to take you to the bank, and then to Mr. Chen's office. Maya nodded, unable to speak past the knot of anxiety in her throat. She climbed into the back seat, sinking into leather that felt like a different universe from the shelter's thin mattress. As they drove through Manhattan, Thomas said quietly, For what it's worth, Ms. Robinson, I've worked for your father for 20 years. He's a good man. What happened to you and your mother, the separation, the years apart, it wasn't his choice. He's been looking for you both for a very long time. At Chase Manhattan, William Chen was waiting. He was exactly what his voice suggested. Mid-60s, impeccably dressed, with an air of authority softened by genuine warmth. Maya, he said, shaking her hand. Thank you for trusting me enough to come. I know this must be overwhelming. That's an understatement. William led her to a private room where a bank employee brought safe deposit box 891. The box was larger than Maya expected, metal and official and somehow ominous. William handed her the key. Would you like me to open it? Or would you prefer privacy? Stay, Maya said quickly. I don't know if I can do this alone. She inserted the key, turned it, heard the lock click open. Inside the box were folders, documents, and a sealed envelope with Maya, written in the same elegant handwriting as the letter in her mother's drawer. William pulled out the first folder. This is your birth certificate. The original one, Not the amended version your mother filed when she married Daniel Robinson. Maya stared at the document. Under father, it listed Samuel Richardson. Under mother, Catherine Robinson. The date matched what she'd always known. November 15th, 1997. Her birthday. The birthday Marcus had chosen to destroy her life. Why did she change it? Maya asked. Why erase him? That's something she'll need to explain, William said gently. He opened another folder. This is documentation of a trust fund established in your name on the day you were born. Your father set it up, even though he'd lost contact with your mother. He always believed he'd find you eventually. The numbers on the page made Maya's vision blur. Starting balance, $500,000 in 1997. Current value, with 27 years of compound interest and strategic investments. $47 million. Maya's hand shook as she set the paper down. This can't be real. It's very real. William opened another folder. And this is the primary trust. The inheritance your father intends to transfer to you once paternity is legally confirmed and you're ready. Current value, $2.1 billion. The number was so large, it lost meaning. Maya had worried about how to afford diapers and formula. She'd been kicked out with nothing, told she was worthless, treated like a burden. And all along, she'd had millions, billions, in her name. I don't understand, Maya whispered. Why didn't my mother tell me? Why did we struggle? Why did she work herself to exhaustion when this existed? William's expression was complicated. Part sympathy, part something else Maya couldn't identify. Your mother made choices she believed were right at the time. Samuel Richardson, your father, is one of the wealthiest black men in America. He built his fortune in real estate, technology investments, and venture capital. When he and your mother met in 1996, he was already extremely successful. She was a nursing student. They fell in love fast and hard. He paused, letting Maya absorb this. But Samuel's family had expectations. They wanted him to marry within a certain circle, maintain certain appearances. When Catherine got pregnant, Samuel proposed immediately. He wanted to marry her, raise you together, build a life. So what happened? His family threatened to cut him off completely if he married her. They said horrible things, that she was a gold digger, that the baby probably wasn't his, that she was trying to trap him. And Catherine, who was young and proud, and from a family that taught her not to depend on any man, told Samuel she wouldn't be the reason he lost his family. She left New York, moved to Boston, and disappeared. The pieces started fitting together in Maya's mind. She was protecting him, and protecting you in her own way. She didn't want you growing up with a father who resented her for costing him his inheritance. She didn't want you caught in the middle of a family that would never fully accept you. William opened another document. Samuel spent years searching, hired investigators, tracked every lead. But Catherine had changed her name temporarily, moved multiple times, covered her tracks. By the time he found you both, she'd married Daniel Robinson. He seemed like a good man. You seemed happy. So, Samuel watched from a distance, put money aside, and waited. Waited for what? For the day you might need him. For the day Catherine might decide you deserved to know the truth. William met her eyes. That day is today. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She knew Marcus was going to kick me out. She knew I'd need this. She suspected. And she called Samuel 2 weeks ago, told him everything, about Marcus's affair, about the Harrison family's racism, about being sick and wanting to make things right before she died. She said it was time you knew your father, that you deserved the protection and resources he could provide. The sealed envelope in the box called to Maya. She opened it with trembling hands. My darling daughter, if you're reading this, then the worst has happened, and Marcus has shown you who he really is. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry I didn't warn you sooner, didn't protect you better. I saw the signs, but hoped I was wrong. You need to know the truth about Samuel Richardson, your real father. We were so young when we met. I was 21, working my way through nursing school. He was 25, already successful beyond anything I could imagine. We fell in love in that wild, desperate way young people do. And when I got pregnant with you, I thought we'd figure it out together. But his family was cruel. They called me every name you can imagine. They offered me money to get an abortion. They told Samuel he'd be disinherited if he chose me over them. And I couldn't do that to him, Maya. I couldn't be the reason he lost everything. So, I left. I moved away, changed my name temporarily, hid from his investigators. It was stupid and proud and wrong, and I've regretted it every day for 27 years. Samuel never stopped looking for us. When he finally found us, you were 5, and I'd just married Daniel. Samuel came to me, begged me to let him be part of your life. But I was scared. Scared his family would try to take you. Scared you'd love him more than the man who was raising you. Scared of so many things. I made him promise to stay away until you were an adult. Until you could choose for yourself whether to have a relationship with him. He agreed, but only if he could set up trust funds, watch over you, make sure you were safe even if he couldn't be present. Every scholarship you got, Samuel arranged it. Every time we narrowly avoided financial disaster, Samuel quietly helped. He's been your guardian angel for 23 years. And you never knew. Now I'm dying, baby. The cancer is too far advanced. The doctors give me maybe 6 months. And I can't die knowing you don't have family, don't have resources, don't have someone to protect you the way you deserve. Samuel is a good man. His family is still difficult, but he's spent decades building his own empire, separate from them, so he'd never have to choose again. He's been waiting for the chance to know you, to be your father, to give you everything I kept him from giving. I'm so sorry for the years you lost. I'm so sorry for keeping you apart. But I'm not sorry for the life you had with Daniel, who loved you as his own. And I'm not sorry that now, when you need family most, you'll have Samuel. Let him help you, Maya. Let him be what I never let him be before, your father. I love you more than words can express. Mom. Maya sat in that bank's private room, holding her mother's letter, surrounded by documents that proved she was not who she'd always thought she was. She wasn't just Catherine Robinson's daughter, the girl from the Bronx who'd worked her way through college. She was Samuel Richardson's daughter, heir to billions, member of a family she'd never known. And Marcus Harrison, the man who'd kicked her out on her birthday while 8 months pregnant. The man who'd called her worthless and drained their bank account, had just made an enemy he couldn't begin to comprehend. What happens now? Maya asked William, her voice steady despite everything. Now, William said with a small smile. We prepare. Your father lands tomorrow. You'll meet him, decide what kind of relationship you want. In the meantime, we get you out of that shelter and into a safe place where you can rest and prepare for your daughter's birth. I don't need charity. It's not charity. William interrupted gently. It's your money, Maya. From the trust your father established 27 years ago. You can access it immediately. You could buy a penthouse, a mansion, whatever you want. Maya thought about the shelter, about Denise's kindness, about the other women there who had nothing. I want to stay at the shelter for one more night, she said. But I want to make a donation, a substantial donation. And I want to start planning what comes next. What comes next? Maya's expression hardened, her hand moving protectively to her belly. Marcus Harrison thinks he destroyed me. His family thinks they successfully removed the black woman who wasn't good enough for their precious son. Amber thinks she won by stealing my husband. She looked at William, and her eyes held a determination that reminded him powerfully of Samuel Richardson. They're all about to learn what happens when you underestimate a Richardson woman. William's smile widened. Your father is going to be so proud of you. Maya left the bank with copies of every document, legal proof of her identity and inheritance, and a plan forming in her mind that would take weeks to execute, but would be worth every moment of patience. She returned to St. Catherine's shelter that afternoon, but this time she walked through the doors with purpose. She found Denise in her office. I need to make a donation, Maya said. Denise looked up from her paperwork, surprised. That's kind, Maya, but you don't have to. $500,000, Maya interrupted. I want to donate $500,000 to this shelter. For renovations, for additional staff, for resources to help more women, and I want it to be anonymous. Denise stared at her, mouth open. What? I found out today that I'm not who I thought I was, that I come from a family with resources I never knew about. And the first thing I want to do with that is help women like us. Women who end up here because the men in their lives thought they could throw us away. Tears filled Denise's eyes. Maya, are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Maya pulled out William Chen's business card. Call this number. He'll arrange everything. That night, Maya lay in her shelter bed for the last time. But she didn't sleep. She planned. She strategized. She thought about every detail of what was coming, every move that needed to be made, every piece of evidence that needed to be gathered. Marcus had made this personal when he chose her birthday to destroy her life. He'd made it public when he kicked her out in front of his parents and his mistress. He'd made it unforgivable when he drained their account and left her with nothing while 8 months pregnant. Now Maya was going to make it legendary. Sunday morning arrived with clear skies and cold November air. William Chen picked Maya up at 10 a.m. in a different car this time, a Rolls-Royce that made the Mercedes look modest. Your father wanted to make sure you were comfortable, William explained as they drove toward a building in Tribeca. Where are we going? Your father's penthouse. He bought it 15 years ago, always hoping that someday you'd want to see it, maybe even live there. The building was stunning. All glass and steel, with a doorman who greeted William by name and looked at Maya with curious respect. They took a private elevator to the top floor, and when the doors opened directly into the penthouse, Maya's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan. The space was decorated with obvious care. Modern furniture mixed with warm touches that made it feel like a home rather than a showroom. And on the walls, everywhere Maya looked, were photos. Photos of a little girl she recognized as herself. At school plays, sporting events, graduation ceremonies. Photos Catherine must have sent, or that investigators had captured from a distance. 27 years of moments, carefully documented, lovingly preserved. He's been watching over you your whole life, William said quietly. Every milestone, every achievement. He couldn't be there, but he made sure to bear witness. A door opened, and a man walked out. Tall, with salt and pepper hair, wearing a simple sweater and jeans. He was 52, Maya knew from the documents, but looked younger. And his eyes, when they met hers, were filled with an emotion so powerful it took her breath away. "Maya," Samuel Richardson said, his voice breaking. "My daughter." They stood there for a long moment, two strangers who shared blood in 27 years of absence. Then Samuel took a tentative step forward. "I don't expect you to forgive me for not being there," he said. "I don't expect you to call me Dad or accept me or anything at all. I'm so grateful you're here. That I get to finally see you, talk to you, know you." Maya had planned to be guarded, careful, protected. But something about seeing this man, this powerful, successful man, with tears in his eyes, looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world, broke through her defenses. "You look like the photos," she said. "The ones my mom had hidden. I found them once when I was a kid, asked her who you were. She said you were someone she knew a long time ago, and that someday she'd tell me the whole story." "Did she? Tell you the whole story?" "I read her letter," and Mr. Chen explained. Maya's hand moved to her belly. "I'm angry that you weren't there, that we struggled when we didn't have to. But I understand why she made the choices she did. And I understand that you tried." Samuel's expression crumpled. "I should have tried harder. Should have fought for you both instead of respecting Catherine's wishes. Should have. Should have doesn't change what was," Maya interrupted. "But maybe it can change what comes next." They sat down in the living room, father and daughter, meeting for the first time as adults, and talked for hours. Samuel told her about building his business, about the years of searching, about the investigators who'd finally found them. Maya told him about Daniel Robinson, the man who'd raised her and loved her, who died never knowing he wasn't her biological father. "He was a good man," Maya said. "He treated me like I was his. I don't want his memory disrespected." "He raised my daughter," Samuel replied. "He gave her love and stability when I couldn't. I'll always be grateful to him for that." They talked about Marcus, about the Harrison family, about the betrayal that had led Maya to this moment. Samuel's expression darkened as he heard the details. The birthday ambush, the drained account, the calculated cruelty of kicking out a pregnant woman. "I want to destroy him," Samuel said flatly. "I want to use every resource I have to make sure he never works again, never recovers from this." "I know," Maya said. "But I need to do this my way. I need to be the one who handles it, not the daughter who runs to Daddy to fix her problems." Samuel looked at her with something like awe. "You're so much like Catherine, strong and proud and refusing to let anyone fight your battles." "I'm like you two," Maya said with a small smile. "Strategic, patient, willing to wait for the perfect moment to strike. What's your plan?" Maya pulled out her phone, showing him screenshots she'd been gathering. Amber's social media posts about her pregnancy, Marcus's public declarations of happiness, the Harrison family's subtle posts about new beginnings. "They think they won," Maya said. "They think I'm broken, defeated, probably homeless. They have no idea who I am or what I have. So, I'm going to let them keep thinking that for a few more weeks. Let them get comfortable. Let Marcus get deeper with Amber. Let them start planning their future. And then I show up at Marcus's workplace, Harrington Marketing Group, and reveal everything. Not just who my father is, but what they did, how they did it, with evidence they can't deny or defend against. Samuel's smile was proud and a little dangerous. You want an audience for their destruction. I want everyone who enabled this, who laughed while I was humiliated, to watch it all come crashing down. I want poetic justice, delivered publicly, with no room for them to spin the narrative or play victim. Then let's make sure you have everything you need, Samuel said. He pulled out his phone, started making calls. Within an hour, Maya had a legal team being assembled, a private investigator assigned to gather evidence, and a publicist on retainer to manage the story when it broke. I'm meeting your mother tomorrow, Samuel said, as the sun began to set over Manhattan. She's asked to see me, to talk about what comes next for you, for her treatment, for all of this. She's dying, Maya said quietly. She has maybe 6 months. I know. Samuel's voice was thick with grief. I've offered to pay for any treatment, any doctor, anything that might help. She's refused most of it. Says she's made her peace. I haven't made my peace with losing her. Neither have I. I never stopped loving her, Maya. Even after she left, even after all these years. She's been it for me. They sat in silence for a moment. Two people bound by love for the same woman, connected by blood, but separated by time. Where will you stay tonight? Samuel asked. You can stay here if you want. There's a guest room. Actually, there are 3 guest rooms. Pick whichever you want. I should get back to the shelter. They're expecting me. Maya, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. But I want one more night there, to remember what it feels like to have nothing. So when this is all over, I never forget where I came from or who I'm fighting for. Samuel looked at her with undisguised pride. You're going to change the world, Maya. I can feel it. I'm going to change my world, she corrected, and make sure Marcus Harrison regrets every choice he made. William drove Maya back to Harlem as darkness fell. Before she got out of the car, he handed her a credit card. From your trust fund, he explained. No limit. Use it for whatever you need. Medical care, clothes, food, anything. You're not poor anymore, Maya. You never have to struggle again. Maya took the card, felt its weight in her hand, and thought about all the years she'd worried about money, stretched dollars, worked extra shifts, all while this existed, waiting for her. Thank you, she said, for everything, for protecting this for me. It's been my honor. Maya spent one more night in the shelter, but this time she lay awake making lists. Legal moves to make, evidence to gather, people to contact. A timeline for revelation that would maximize impact and minimize opportunities for the Harrisons to regroup. She was 8 months pregnant, abandoned by her husband, grieving her dying mother, and meeting her biological father for the first time. By any reasonable standard, she should be falling apart. Instead, she was building a strategy that would dismantle Marcus Harrison's entire life, piece by public piece. The Richardson women didn't break. They waited, they planned, and they won. And Maya Robinson Richardson was about to prove exactly what that meant. The next morning, Maya said goodbye to St. Catherine's shelter, but not before meeting with Denise one final time. That donation you mentioned, Denise said, her voice shaking. Mr. Chen called. $500,000. Maya, I don't even know what to say. Say you'll use it to help women like us. Women who need to know that being kicked out isn't the end of their story. This is the largest donation we've ever received. We can expand, hire more counselors, extend the length of stay, provide job training. Denise's eyes filled with tears. You just changed hundreds of lives. Someone changed mine, Maya said. Now I'm passing it forward. William had arranged for a furnished apartment in a secure building, not the penthouse Samuel had offered, but a comfortable 2-bedroom with a nursery already set up. The team Samuel had hired worked fast. Your father wanted you to have space to prepare for the baby, William explained as he showed her around. But whenever you're ready, the penthouse is yours. The apartment was perfect. Safe, clean, with everything Maya needed and more. She spent the afternoon unpacking her single duffel bag, laughing at how empty the massive closet looked with her few worn clothes hanging in it. Samuel had left gift cards to maternity stores, baby boutiques, furniture outlets. Build the life you want, his note said. Money is just a tool. Use it. But Maya didn't go shopping, not yet. She had other priorities. She called the private investigator Samuel had hired, a woman named Jordan Matthews who specialized in corporate investigation and marital cases. I need everything on Marcus Harrison, Maya said. Every financial transaction, every communication with Amber, every interaction with his parents that shows they planned this. I need dates, times, evidence that can't be disputed. When do you need it by? 4 weeks. I want to wait until after I give birth when I'm strong enough to face them. And I want to give them enough time to get comfortable, to think they're safe. Jordan's laugh was knowing. You're not just looking for justice. You're looking for maximum damage. I'm looking for truth, Maya corrected. If the truth happens to destroy them, that's their problem. Over the next 2 weeks, as Maya prepared for her daughter's arrival, the investigation uncovered everything. Bank statements showing Marcus had been moving money to a personal account for 6 months. Text messages between Marcus and his mother discussing the Maya problem and when to handle it. Emails between Marcus and Amber planning their relationship timeline. And most damning, a recorded conversation between Marcus and his father, where Richard Harrison explicitly said, "We can't have a black daughter-in-law. It's bad for business, bad for the family name. End it before the baby comes, or we'll cut you off." The racism wasn't subtext anymore. It was documented fact. Maya listened to the recording in her new apartment, one hand on her belly, feeling her daughter kick in response to her elevated heart rate. Your father and his family destroyed us because of the color of our skin, Maya whispered. Because they thought we weren't good enough. But we're going to show them that their opinions don't define our worth. We're going to show them what real power looks like. Samuel visited twice a week, bringing takeout and stories about his life, asking questions about hers. Building a relationship 27 years late, but better late than never. He told her about his family, the Richardsons who'd rejected Catherine and, by extension, Maya. They've been begging to meet you, Samuel said during one dinner. Ever since they found out you exist, and that I'm transferring a significant portion of my estate to you. Suddenly you're acceptable. I don't want to meet them. I don't blame you. They showed their true nature 27 years ago. Nothing that's happened since has changed it. Will it cause problems? For you? For your business? If I don't play nice with them? Samuel's expression was firm. Maya, I spent decades building an empire separate from my family's influence specifically so I'd never have to choose between them and the people I love again. If they can't accept you, that's their loss, not yours. You owe them nothing. On a cold December afternoon, 3 weeks after being kicked out, Maya went into labor. Samuel drove her to Mount Sinai Hospital, where a private birthing suite had been reserved, and stayed in the waiting room pacing like an anxious grandfather, while Maya endured 12 hours of labor. Catherine arrived despite her weakness, her head wrapped in a colorful scarf covering hair loss from chemo. her hand gripping Maya's through every contraction. "You're so strong," Catherine whispered. "Stronger than I ever was. I learned from you." Maya gasped between contractions. "You survived everything, raised me alone, fought cancer. You're the strongest person I know." When Maya's daughter finally arrived at 3:47 a.m., tiny and perfect and screaming with impressive lungs, both Catherine and Samuel were allowed in to meet her. "What will you name her?" Samuel asked, tears streaming down his face as he looked at his granddaughter. Maya looked at her mother, at the woman who'd sacrificed everything to protect her, who'd worked herself to exhaustion to provide, who was now facing death with the same strength she'd faced life. "Catherine," Maya said. "Catherine Robinson Richardson." So she knows where she comes from and what that name means. Catherine sobbed, holding her daughter's hand while looking at her granddaughter. "She's perfect, baby. Absolutely perfect." "She looks like you," Samuel said softly to Catherine. "Beautiful and strong." The moment could have been awkward. The mother, the father who'd never been together, meeting their shared legacy for the first time. But instead, it felt right. Like broken pieces finally fitting together. Maya stayed in the hospital for 2 days, recovering in a private suite that felt more like a luxury hotel than a medical facility. Flowers arrived constantly, from Samuel, from William Chen, from Denise at the shelter, from people Maya had never met who'd somehow learned about the birth. None came from Marcus. Of course they didn't. He had no idea she'd given birth, had no idea where she was, had probably forgotten about her entirely while building his new life with Amber. That was fine. Better than fine. His ignorance would make the eventual revelation even more devastating. On her last day in the hospital, Maya received an unexpected visitor. Samuel's head of security, a man named James, knocked on her door. "Ms. Richardson, there's someone downstairs asking about you. Says he's your husband, Marcus Harrison." Maya's blood went cold. "How did he find me?" "Birth records are public after 48 hours. He must have been monitoring them." Catherine, who'd been holding baby Catherine, looked up with fire in her eyes. "Do you want me to have him removed?" Maya thought about it, about Marcus standing in the hospital lobby, probably expecting to find her alone and vulnerable and willing to discuss custody, expecting the same Maya he'd thrown out. "Send him up," Maya said. "Are you sure?" Samuel asked. He'd stayed nearby the whole time, not wanting to miss a moment with his granddaughter. "I'm sure. But I want you both here. I want him to see exactly who he threw away." 5 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Maya was sitting up in the hospital bed, holding her daughter, looking tired but strong. Catherine sat in a chair nearby, wearing expensive clothes Samuel had bought her, choosing to look powerful rather than sick. And Samuel stood by the window, arms crossed, watching. "Come in," Maya called. Marcus entered, and his expression cycled through several emotions when he saw the scene. Confusion at the luxury suite. Shock at the well-dressed older black woman he didn't recognize. And something approaching fear when he saw the tall, powerful man standing by the window. "Maya," Marcus said, his voice uncertain. "I heard you gave birth. I needed to see my daughter." "Your daughter," Maya repeated calmly. "The daughter you abandoned while she was in the womb. The daughter whose mother you kicked out at 8 months pregnant." "I know I made mistakes." "Mistakes," Catherine interrupted, her voice sharp despite her weakness. "You call calculated cruelty a mistake?" Marcus finally looked at her. "Who are you?" "Catherine Robinson, Maya's mother." The woman you've never bothered to meet in 3 years of marriage. And I'm Samuel Richardson, Samuel said, stepping forward. His voice carried the weight of boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. Maya's father. Marcus's face went pale. Richardson? As in Richardson Holdings? The Richardson who owns half of Manhattan's commercial real estate? The same. Samuel's smile was cold. Though I'm surprised you know the name. I'd have thought someone at your income level wouldn't pay attention to people in my tax bracket. The insult was subtle but devastating. Marcus stumbled over his words. I didn't know Maya had... she never said... I didn't know either, Maya said calmly. Until 2 weeks after you kicked me out. Until I was living in a women's shelter because my husband had stolen our joint savings and left me with nothing. Maya, I can explain. I don't need your explanations, Marcus. I needed them 3 weeks ago when you handed me divorce papers on my birthday. When your mother stood there smiling while you destroyed our marriage. When Amber sent me that text calling me a fat bitch. Marcus swallowed hard. Amber and we're not together anymore. I know. She wasn't really pregnant, was she? His silence was answer enough. So, you left your actually pregnant wife for a woman faking pregnancy. You chose your parents' approval over your own child. You drained our bank account and kicked me out in November cold because I was black and didn't fit your family's image. Maya's voice never rose, never showed emotion. She stated facts like reading a grocery list. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. I want to make it right. Make it right? Catherine laughed, the sound bitter. Do you know what you actually did? You abandoned a Richardson. You kicked out Samuel Richardson's daughter while she was pregnant with his granddaughter. You stole from one of the wealthiest families in America and treated their daughter like garbage. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face, along with something approaching terror. I didn't know. Exactly, Samuel said. You didn't know. You made assumptions based on skin color and background. You thought Maya was powerless, so you treated her accordingly. That was your mistake, Mr. Harrison. Not knowing who someone is before you decide to destroy them. I want to be involved, Marcus said desperately. In Catherine's life, my daughter's life. Her name is Catherine Richardson, Maya corrected. And your involvement will be determined by lawyers and courts, not by you showing up and making demands. Marcus tried a different approach. Maya, please. We were married. We loved each other once. That has to count for something. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no love, no pain. Just cold assessment of a man who'd shown his true nature when it mattered most. You're right, Maya said. We loved each other once. Then you listened to your parents' racism, believed a woman you barely knew over your wife, and chose cruelty over kindness at every single opportunity. That counts for something too. Mr. Harrison, William Chen said, appearing in the doorway. Maya had texted him as soon as she knew Marcus was coming. I'm Maya's attorney. We'll be in touch about custody arrangements and the divorce proceedings. For now, I need to ask you to leave. I have rights. You have the rights that a court determines you have, William said calmly. Given that you abandoned your pregnant wife, stole marital assets, and created a hostile environment, all of which is thoroughly documented, I suspect those rights will be minimal. But we can discuss that through proper legal channels. Marcus looked around the room, at Maya holding their daughter, at Catherine watching him with undisguised disgust, at Samuel's protective stance, at William's legal authority, and realized he'd lost. He'd lost everything the moment he'd handed Maya those divorce papers. "This isn't over," Marcus said weakly. "Yes," Maya replied. "It is. You just don't know it yet." After Marcus left, Samuel pulled out his phone. "I'm having security added to your building. He knows where you're staying now, and I don't trust him or his family." "Thank you," Maya said, adjusting baby Catherine in her arms. The baby had slept through the entire confrontation, peaceful and perfect. "When will you execute your plan?" Catherine asked. "I know you have one. You're too much like both of us not to." Maya smiled. "Marcus works at Harrington Marketing Group. They're hosting their annual holiday gala in 3 weeks. Big event, all their major clients, press coverage, society page photographers. It's where they announce promotions, celebrate the year's successes, and where you'll announce some successes of your own," Samuel finished. "Exactly. I want witnesses. I want it documented. And I want everyone who enabled what happened to me to see the consequences play out in real time." Over the next 3 weeks, Maya recovered from childbirth, bonded with her daughter, and finalized her plan with the precision of a general preparing for battle. Jordan Matthews delivered the complete investigation. Hundreds of pages of evidence documenting every betrayal, every lie, every calculated cruelty. Bank statements showing Marcus's financial manipulation. Recordings of his conversations with his parents discussing how to handle the Maya problem. Text messages between him and Amber planning their timeline. And most damning, security footage from the house showing Marcus and Amber celebrating Maya's departure the night she was kicked out, toasting with champagne and laughing about finally being free. William Chen prepared the legal documents, custody arrangements heavily weighted toward Maya, divorce papers that would strip Marcus of any claim to her wealth, and a lawsuit against the Harrison family for emotional distress, discrimination, and financial manipulation. Samuel hired a publicist named Monica Chen, no relation to William, who specialized in crisis management and controlled narrative release. "The story is going to explode," Monica warned during their planning meeting. Abandoned pregnant black woman discovers she's billionaire's daughter and destroys racist ex-husband's life. "This is going to be everywhere." "Good," Maya said. "Let it be everywhere. Let every woman who's been treated like garbage by their husband see what happens when you underestimate the wrong person." The night of Harrington Marketing Group's holiday gala, Maya prepared herself like a warrior putting on armor. She'd lost all the pregnancy weight in 3 weeks. Not from effort, but from stress and breastfeeding and the kind of nervous energy that came from knowing everything was about to change. The dress Samuel had commissioned for her was midnight blue, elegant and powerful, fitted perfectly despite her recent pregnancy. Real diamonds at her throat, a gift from Samuel, chosen specifically to make a statement. Her hair was styled professionally, makeup flawless, every detail perfect. Baby Catherine was at home with a night nurse Samuel had hired, safe and protected while her mother went to war. Samuel insisted on accompanying her. "You shouldn't face this alone." "I won't be alone," Maya said. She'd invited Catherine despite her mother's weakness, invited William Chen and Jordan Matthews, invited Monica to manage the press, brought a team, not because she needed backup, but because she wanted witnesses. The gala was held at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, a massive ballroom filled with Manhattan's marketing elite, Harrington Group's clients, and enough society page photographers to ensure everything would be documented. Marcus was there, looking confident in his tuxedo, laughing with colleagues, playing the role of successful junior executive. His parents flanked him like bodyguards. Richard in an expensive suit, Patricia in diamonds that cost more than Maya's old annual salary. Amber was noticeably absent. Smart woman, Maya's team arrived precisely on time, making an entrance that stopped conversations mid-sentence. Samuel Richardson was recognized immediately. His face appeared regularly in Forbes and Fortune magazine. The whispers started instantly. "Is that Samuel Richardson? What's he doing here? Who's the woman with him?" Marcus froze when he saw them, his champagne glass actually slipping from his fingers and shattering on the marble floor. Patricia gasped audibly. Richard's face drained of color. Maya walked through the crowd with her head high, Samuel at her side projecting protective authority, her team spreading out strategically. They'd rehearsed this. Every movement was choreographed for maximum impact. The Harrington Group's CEO, Thomas Harrington, approached Samuel immediately, hand extended, smile plastered on his face. "Mr. Richardson, what an honor. We didn't realize you'd be attending." "I'm here with my daughter," Samuel said calmly, placing a protective hand on Maya's shoulder. Thomas's smile faltered as he looked at Maya, trying to place her, recognition dawning slowly. "Maya? Maya Harrison?" "Maya Richardson," she corrected. "I've reclaimed my family name." The CEO's expression went through several shifts as he processed this information, his eyes moving between Maya and Samuel, understanding slowly building. "Your daughter?" Thomas repeated. "My daughter," Samuel confirmed, "and the mother of my granddaughter, who was born 3 weeks ago." A crowd was gathering now, sensing drama, pulling out phones, recording what was clearly about to become an incident. Maya's voice carried clearly through the ballroom, not shouting, just projecting with the confidence of someone who knew she held all the cards. "3 weeks ago, your employee Marcus Harrison kicked me out of our home while I was 8 months pregnant. He handed me divorce papers on my birthday in front of his parents, with his mistress watching. He drained our joint bank account of $18,000 and left me with nothing." The gasps were audible. Phones came out everywhere. Thomas Harrington's face went pale. "Maya, maybe we should discuss this privately," Thomas started. "No," Maya said firmly. "This happened publicly. It gets addressed publicly." She pulled out her phone, connected it to the presentation screen at the front of the ballroom. Jordan had hacked the hotel's AV system hours ago and displayed the first piece of evidence: the security footage from November 15th. Marcus and Amber celebrating after Maya left, toasting champagne, Amber wearing Maya's robe, Marcus saying clearly on camera, "Finally free of that burden." The ballroom went silent. "But it wasn't just Marcus," Maya continued, advancing the presentation. "His family orchestrated this. They pressured him to end our marriage, paid his mistress $10,000 to help facilitate it, and made their reasoning very clear." The audio recording played Richard Harrison's voice, crystal clear, telling Marcus, "We can't have a black daughter-in-law. It's bad for business, bad for the family name." The racism, undeniable and documented, hung in the air like poison. Patricia Harrison stood abruptly. "This is slander. This is evidence," William Chen interrupted, stepping forward with his briefcase. "Every piece has been authenticated by investigators and is admissible in court, which is where this is heading if Mr. Harrison and his family don't cooperate fully with the custody and divorce arrangements my client is requesting." Maya advanced to the next slide. Bank statements showing Marcus had been systematically moving money for months. Text messages between him and Amber planning their timeline. Emails between Marcus and his parents discussing when to handle the Maya situation. "I was kicked out with nothing," Maya said, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside her. "No money, no home, no support. I ended up at a women's shelter in Harlem, 8 months pregnant, believing I had no one." She paused. met Marcus's eyes across the room. He looked like he wanted to disappear. But I wasn't alone. I had a father I'd never met, Samuel Richardson, who'd been looking for me for 27 years, a father who established a trust fund in my name the day I was born. A father whose fortune makes the Harrison family's wealth look like pocket change. The revelation hit the room like a bomb. Everyone knew who Samuel Richardson was. Everyone understood what this meant. So here's what's going to happen, Maya continued. Marcus Harrison will agree to minimal custody rights, to be determined by the court. He will return every cent he stole, with interest, and his family will stay far away from me and my daughter. And if they don't? Thomas Harrington asked, clearly trying to assess the damage to his company. Samuel stepped forward. Then I'll make it my personal mission to ensure that everyone in this industry knows exactly what kind of people the Harrisons are. I'll make sure every client sees the evidence. Every business partner hears the recordings. Every potential customer learns that Harrington Marketing Group employs people who engage in racist, cruel, financially abusive behavior. The threat was clear. Samuel Richardson had the resources to destroy not just Marcus, but the entire company. Thomas looked at Marcus with undisguised fury. My office, Monday morning. Bring your resignation letter. Mr. Harrington, Marcus started. You filmed yourself celebrating abandoning your pregnant wife, Thomas interrupted. You left her homeless. And you did it for racist reasons that are now documented and spreading across social media as we speak. He was right. The phones throughout the ballroom had been recording everything. The hashtag Maya Richardson was already trending. The story spreading across Twitter and Instagram faster than anyone could contain it. Patricia tried one last desperate play. She's clearly after money. She's using her supposed father to— I'm not after money, Maya interrupted calmly. I have money. More than I'll ever need. What I'm after is consequences. I'm here to make sure that every person in this room knows exactly what Marcus Harrison is, so that his cruelty is documented, so that the next woman he dates, the next employee he works with, the next person who trusts him, they'll know who they're dealing with. She pulled up the final slide. The recording of Marcus's voicemail from 2 weeks ago, after he learned about Samuel, begging for another chance. These messages came after he discovered who my father is, Maya explained. Not because he regretted what he did, but because he realized I wasn't powerless anymore. That's not remorse. That's fear. Marcus stood frozen. His career imploding in real time. His parents looking at him with horror, everyone in the ballroom now knowing his story. I'm not here for revenge, Maya said finally. I'm here for justice. There's a difference. Revenge is about hurting someone because they hurt you. Justice is about making sure the truth comes out so others don't get hurt the same way. She disconnected her phone from the projector, tucked it away, and looked at Marcus one final time. You thought you were throwing away someone powerless. You were wrong. And now everyone knows it. Maya turned and walked out of the ballroom, Samuel beside her, her team following, leaving behind a room full of shocked people and one man whose life had just imploded as publicly and completely as he'd tried to destroy hers. The story exploded overnight. By morning, #Maya Richardson was the #1 trend worldwide. News outlets picked up the story. Abandoned, pregnant wife revealed as billionaire's daughter. Racist family exposed after kicking out pregnant black woman. The $2 billion revenge. How Maya Richardson destroyed her ex-husband. But Maya didn't call it revenge. In every interview she gave, through Monica's carefully managed press strategy, she called it justice. I want every woman who's been treated this way to know they don't have to accept it. Maya told Good Morning America. Whether you have a billionaire father or not, whether you have resources or not, you deserve respect. You deserve truth. And you deserve consequences for people who treat you cruelly. The response was overwhelming. Women sharing their own stories. Donations flooding into St. Catherine's shelter in Maya's name. Companies reviewing their HR policies around pregnancy discrimination. Marcus was fired officially 3 days after the gala. The recordings and evidence were damning enough that Harrington Marketing Group had no choice. Keeping him would have destroyed their reputation completely. His parents retreated from public life, their social standing permanently damaged by the exposure of their racism. Amber disappeared from social media entirely, her name forever tied to the scandal. Maya's custody arrangement, worked out through lawyers without Marcus ever daring to challenge it, gave her full custody with Marcus allowed supervised visits twice a month. Visits he rarely used, apparently finding it too uncomfortable to face the daughter he'd abandoned. 3 months after the gala, Maya sat in her new penthouse. She'd finally accepted Samuel's offer and moved into the Tribeca building, with baby Catherine in her arms, watching the sunset over Manhattan. Her mother was there too, weaker now but determined to spend every possible moment with her daughter and granddaughter. Samuel stopped by daily, making up for 27 lost years by being present for every moment he could. "Do you regret it?" Catherine asked one evening. "The public exposure? The way you handled it?" Maya thought carefully. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that Marcus couldn't just be a decent human being. But I don't regret making sure the truth came out. Too many women suffer in silence. Too many people get away with cruelty because their victims are afraid to speak up." "You started something," Samuel said, pulling up his phone to show her the latest statistics. Donations to domestic violence shelters are up 300%. Women filing for divorce after emotional abuse are citing your story as inspiration. You changed the narrative, Maya. "I just told the truth." "You weaponized the truth," Samuel corrected with a proud smile. "You waited, you gathered evidence, you chose the perfect moment, and you delivered justice with surgical precision. That's not just truth-telling. That's strategy." Maya looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully despite the chaos that had surrounded her short life. Catherine would grow up knowing her story, knowing that her mother had fought back, knowing that the Richardson women didn't accept being treated as less than. "What's next?" Catherine asked. "Now that the dust has settled, now that Marcus is dealt with, what do you want to do with your life?" Maya had been thinking about this. She'd spent 3 months adjusting to motherhood, recovering from the trauma of betrayal, and watching her mother grow weaker. But underneath it all, a plan had been forming. "I want to start a foundation," Maya said. "The Catherine Robinson Foundation. For women leaving abusive situations, for single mothers, for anyone who needs resources to fight back and rebuild." "Using your inheritance?" Samuel asked. "Using our inheritance? Yours and mine together? You gave me the money, but Mom gave me the strength. This foundation honors both of you." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. "Maya, you saved yourself and me for 27 years without help," Maya said. "You made impossible choices to protect me. Now I want to make sure other women don't have to make those choices alone." Samuel nodded slowly. "I'll match whatever you put in, dollar for dollar. We'll make this the most well-funded women's foundation in the country." "But there's one condition," Maya said with a small smile. "The foundation's first project, fully funding St. Catherine's shelter expansion. They took me in when I had nothing. Now, I want to make sure they can take in hundreds more. Over the next year, Maya built the foundation from the ground up. She hired staff, established partnerships with shelters and legal aid organizations, created programs for job training and financial literacy. The Catherine Robinson Foundation became known as the gold standard for supporting women leaving difficult situations. Samuel finally introduced Maya to his extended family, the Richardsons, who'd rejected her before she was born. The meeting was tense, awkward, filled with apologies that felt hollow and late. "You don't have to accept them," Samuel told her afterward. "You don't owe them anything." "I know," Maya replied. "But baby Catherine deserves to know her whole family, even the parts that aren't perfect." Catherine Robinson passed away in April, surrounded by the people who loved her. Maya and Samuel sat on either side of her bed, holding her hands, while baby Catherine slept in her grandmother's arms one last time. "You did it," Catherine whispered to Maya. "You survived. You fought back. You won." "I learned from the best," Maya replied, tears streaming down her face. "Love him," Catherine said, looking at Samuel, "not despite the lost years, but because of what he's becoming for you now." "I already do," Samuel said, his voice breaking. "I never stopped." Catherine smiled. "I know. I'm sorry for keeping you apart. I thought I was protecting Maya, but I was really just protecting my own pride." "You gave her everything that mattered," Samuel said. "Strength, dignity, purpose. The money is just money. You gave her character." Catherine died peacefully that night, her hand in her daughter's, her legacy secured in the woman Maya had become, and the foundation that would carry her name. The funeral was massive. Hundreds of people whose lives Catherine had touched, either through her nursing work or through the foundation Maya had built in her honor. But the most important moment came when Maya stood to give the eulogy, holding 10-month-old Catherine, and spoke about strength and sacrifice and survival. "My mother taught me that being underestimated is a gift," Maya said. "That people show you who they are when they think you're powerless. And that real strength isn't fighting back with anger. It's fighting back with truth." She looked out at the crowd, saw Marcus sitting in the back row, alone. He'd sent flowers, had asked permission to attend. Maya had agreed, not because she'd forgiven him, but because she wanted him to see what Catherine Robinson had built. A daughter who survived, a granddaughter who would thrive, and a legacy that would help thousands. "My mother survived being a single parent, battled cancer, and protected me even when it cost her everything. She was the strongest person I've ever known. And if I've done anything worth celebrating, it's because she showed me how." After the funeral, after the reception, after everyone had left, Maya stood at her mother's grave with Samuel and baby Catherine. "She loved you," Maya told Samuel. "She never stopped. She told me that at the end." "I know," Samuel replied. "And I loved her. I always will." They stood in silence, 3 generations of Richardson family. The father who'd searched for 27 years, the daughter who'd survived betrayal, and the granddaughter who represented new beginnings. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from William Chen. "Marcus is filing for increased custody. His lawyer says he's turned his life around and wants to be more involved." Maya looked at the message, then at her daughter, then at her mother's headstone. "Some people never learn," she said quietly. "What will you do?" Samuel asked. Maya smiled, the same smile Samuel had seen in the ballroom the night she destroyed Marcus's career. Patient, strategic, dangerous to those who deserved it. "I'll remind him very publicly if necessary, that he had every chance to be a father and chose not to. I'll document his absence, his lack of support, his minimal interaction with his daughter. And I'll make sure every judge in the family court system knows exactly who Marcus Harrison is. You're not even angry anymore, are you? Samuel observed. No, Maya admitted. I'm just tired of him thinking he can rewrite history. He made his choices. Now he lives with them. The custody challenge went nowhere. Marcus's lawyers withdrew the petition after William Chen sent them a 100-page document detailing Marcus's absence, supported by security logs, text messages, and testimony from the supervised visit coordinators about his inconsistent attendance. Marcus Harrison faded from Maya's life completely after that, becoming what he should have been all along. Irrelevant. Maya Richardson, however, became anything but irrelevant. By the time Catherine was 2 years old, the foundation bearing her grandmother's name had helped over 10,000 women leave difficult situations. The story of Maya's public justice had been featured in documentaries, studied in law schools, and cited in dozens of discrimination cases. She'd used her platform to advocate for pregnancy discrimination laws, for better support for single mothers, for consequences for men who abandoned their families. She'd testified before Congress, been featured on the cover of Time magazine, and given commencement speeches at 3 universities. But her favorite moments were still the quiet ones. Bedtime stories with Catherine, dinner with Samuel, visiting St. Catherine's shelter to meet women whose lives were changing because someone had invested in their survival. One evening, as she was putting 3-year-old Catherine to bed, her daughter asked the question Maya had been waiting for. "Mommy, why don't I see my daddy?" Maya had prepared for this. She'd consulted therapists, read books, practiced what to say. "Your daddy made some choices that hurt people," Maya said gently. "He wasn't ready to be a father. But you have me, and you have Grandpa Samuel, and you have so many people who love you. Did he not want me?" The question broke Maya's heart. "Baby, that's not about you. That's about him. You are wanted. You are loved. You are everything good in this world." Like Grandma Catherine? Exactly like Grandma Catherine. That night, after her daughter was asleep, Maya stood on her penthouse balcony, looking out at Manhattan, the city where she'd been born, where she'd suffered, where she'd survived, and where she'd ultimately triumphed. Her phone rang. Samuel's name appeared. "Just checking in," he said. "Making sure you and my granddaughter are okay." "We're good. Catherine asked about Marcus tonight." Samuel was quiet for a moment. "What did you tell her?" "The truth, age-appropriate but true. That he wasn't ready to be a father. That his choices were his own. That she's loved regardless." "You're a good mother, Maya. Better than he deserved." "I learned from the best," Maya said, echoing the words she'd said to her mother before she died. "Your mother would be so proud of you, of everything you've become, everything you've built." "I hope so. I try to honor her every day." After they hung up, Maya returned to her daughter's room, watching her sleep. Catherine Richardson, 3 years old, biracial, born into chaos, but growing up in security. She'd never know poverty, never know powerlessness, never know what it felt like to be kicked out with nothing. But she would know her story. She'd know about the grandmother who survived, the grandfather who searched, and the mother who fought back. She'd know that the Richardson women didn't break. They waited, they strategized, and they won. And when she was old enough, Maya would tell her the whole truth. About the birthday when everything changed. About the betrayal that led to discovery. about the justice that came not from revenge, but from simply revealing who people really were. 5 years after that birthday, Maya stood in the same ballroom where she'd exposed Marcus Harrison, but this time for a different reason. The Catherine Robinson Foundation was hosting its annual gala, raising funds to expand their programs nationwide. The room was packed with donors, supporters, politicians, and celebrities. But Maya's eyes kept returning to one table near the front where Samuel sat with baby Catherine. Not so much a baby anymore at 5 years old. Both of them beaming with pride. When it was time for her speech, Maya took the stage with the same confidence she had had the night she destroyed her ex-husband's career. But this time, the energy was different. Positive, forward-looking, hopeful. 5 years ago, Maya began, and the room went quiet. Everyone knew the story. I was kicked out of my home while 8 months pregnant. I had nothing. No money, no resources, no plan. I ended up at a women's shelter, terrified and alone. She paused, letting the words sink in. But I wasn't alone. I had a team of people who believed in me. A shelter that took me in, a father I'd never met who had been waiting to help me, and a mother who had spent 27 years preparing me for exactly this moment. The Catherine Robinson Foundation exists because I know what it's like to have nothing and need everything. I know what it's like to be underestimated, discarded, treated as worthless. And I know what it's like when many someones, step up and say, "You matter. You're worth fighting for." The crowd applauded. But Maya wasn't finished. We've helped 10,000 women in 5 years. That's 10,000 lives changed. 10,000 children who have homes and stability. 10,000 families who survived what could have destroyed them. But we're not stopping there. She pulled up a slide on the screen behind her. Tonight, I'm announcing the Foundation's biggest initiative yet. We're opening 50 new shelters across the country, each one fully funded for 5 years. We're creating a legal aid program to help women fight back against abuse, discrimination, and abandonment. And we're establishing an emergency fund, $100 million, for women who need immediate help. The applause was thunderous. This money comes from my inheritance, from my father's matching donations, and from supporters like you who believe that every woman deserves a chance to survive and thrive. Maya's voice grew stronger. But more than money, we're giving women something my mother gave me. The knowledge that they're not powerless, that they're not alone, that they can fight back and win. Because here's what I've learned. Justice isn't about destroying the people who hurt you. It's about making sure they can't hurt anyone else. It's about turning your pain into purpose. It's about using your story to change someone else's ending. She looked at Samuel and Catherine, both watching her with love and pride. My mother, Catherine Robinson, taught me to survive. My father, Samuel Richardson, taught me I didn't have to survive alone. And my daughter, Catherine Richardson, reminds me every day why this work matters. This foundation is their legacy as much as mine. After the gala, after the donors had left and the lights had dimmed, Maya sat with Samuel and young Catherine in the empty ballroom. "That was incredible," Samuel said. "Your mother would have been so proud." "I wish she could have seen this," Maya admitted. "Seen what we've built with her name." "She knows," Samuel said with certainty. "Wherever she is, she knows." Young Catherine tugged on Maya's dress. "Mommy, when I grow up, can I work at the foundation? Can I help people like you do?" Maya knelt down to her daughter's level. "Baby, you can do anything you want." But yes, if you want to help people, if you want to carry on Grandma Catherine's legacy, this foundation will be here for you. What if people are mean to me, like they were to you? The question was innocent, but sharp. Maya had been careful about what she told Catherine about her father, but the story was public enough that her daughter would learn it eventually. Then you'll be strong, Maya said firmly. You'll gather evidence, find allies, and fight back. Not with anger, but with truth. Because the Richardson women don't let anyone make us small. The Richardson women, Catherine repeated solemnly, like it was a sacred oath. That's right. We survive. We thrive. We win. 10 years later, Maya Richardson stood at the dedication ceremony for the Catherine Robinson Center for Women's Justice, a massive complex in Harlem that combined emergency shelter, legal services, job training, childcare, and permanent supportive housing. It was the largest single project the foundation had undertaken, costing $150 million and taking 3 years to build. But it represented everything Maya had dreamed of. A place where women could not just survive, but actually rebuild their lives completely. Catherine Robinson Richardson, now 15 years old and already showing signs of inheriting both her mother's strategic mind and her grandmother's strength, stood beside Maya at the ribbon cutting. Samuel, now 72 but still sharp and active, stood on Maya's other side, his hand on her shoulder. "Your mother would be amazed," he whispered. "Everything you've built, it's extraordinary." "We built it," Maya corrected. "This isn't my legacy alone. It's ours. All of us." In the crowd, Maya spotted faces she recognized. Women the foundation had helped over the years, now thriving, many of them with their own success stories. Denise from St. Catherine's Original Shelter, retired now but present for every major milestone. William Chen, still her attorney, still her advisor, still making sure every legal detail was perfect. And, in the very back, almost hidden, Marcus Harrison. Older now, grayer, diminished. He'd never remarried, never rebuilt his career, never recovered from the public exposure of who he really was. Maya had heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd tried to change, tried to become a better person. That he donated to the foundation anonymously, written letters of apology he never sent, that he lived with regret every single day. She felt no satisfaction in his suffering, no joy in his downfall, just a quiet acknowledgement that consequences, once delivered, continued long after the initial impact. Their eyes met across the crowd. Marcus raised his hand slightly. Not a wave, just acknowledgement. Maya nodded once, then turned away. He was part of her past, but not part of her present. Not part of what she'd built or who she'd become. After the ceremony, after the speeches and the photos and the celebrations, Maya and Catherine walked through the new center together, mother and daughter, touring the facilities that would help thousands. "Mom," Catherine said, pausing in front of a wall covered with photos of the foundation's work over the years. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever regret it? The way you handled things with my father? Some people say you were too harsh, that you destroyed his life." Maya had wondered when this conversation would come. Catherine was old enough now to understand nuance, to question, to form her own opinions. "I don't regret telling the truth," Maya said carefully. "Your father made choices that were cruel and calculated. He kicked me out while I was pregnant with you, stole money that was meant for your future, and did it all for racist reasons his family approved of. Those are facts." "But did you have to expose him publicly?" "Yes," Maya said firmly. Because if I'd handled it privately, he would have rewritten the story, made himself the victim, convinced people I was bitter or vindictive or lying. Public exposure was the only way to make sure the truth stayed true. She turned to face her daughter fully. But here's what I want you to understand. I didn't destroy his life. He destroyed his life by making those choices. I just made sure everyone knew what he'd chosen. Catherine thought about this. And the foundation? All the work we do? Is that part of the revenge? No, Maya said. The foundation is about making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to others. Or when it does happen, they have resources to fight back and survive. That's not revenge. That's purpose. I'm proud of you, Mom, Catherine said quietly. Grandma Catherine would be too. Maya hugged her daughter, feeling the weight of 15 years. The joy of seeing her child grow into someone strong and thoughtful and kind. I'm proud of you too, baby. You're everything good that came from something painful. You're the reason I fought back. The reason this foundation exists. The reason I never gave up. That night, alone in her penthouse with a glass of wine and the city lights spread before her, Maya reflected on the journey from that birthday 10 years ago to this moment. She'd been kicked out with nothing and had built an empire of purpose. She'd been told she was worthless and had proven her infinite worth. She'd been abandoned while pregnant and had created a family chosen and blood. That was unshakable. Her phone buzzed. A text from Samuel. Proud of you, daughter. Always have been, always will be. Your mother is smiling wherever she is. Maya smiled, typed back. Love you, Dad. Thank you for never giving up on finding me. Thank you for being worth finding. The conversation was simple, but it represented everything. 27 years of searching, 10 years of building, a lifetime of proving that family was both blood and choice, that power was both inherited and earned, that justice was both delivered and demonstrated. Marcus Harrison had thought he was discarding a burden when he kicked out his pregnant black wife. He'd actually set in motion events that would change thousands of lives, establish one of the most powerful women's advocacy foundations in the country, and create a legacy that would outlive everyone involved. And Maya Richardson, the woman he'd underestimated so catastrophically, would spend the rest of her life making sure that no woman who came after her would have to face betrayal alone. The Richardson women didn't break. They survived. They thrived. And they used their strength to lift others. That was the real victory. That was justice. That was legacy. And it all started on a birthday, with divorce papers, and a letter that changed everything. Catherine Richardson turned 18 on a cold November morning, the same month her mother had been kicked out 21 years earlier. The symmetry wasn't lost on anyone in the family, least of all Catherine herself. She sat in the conference room of the Catherine Robinson Foundation headquarters, surrounded by board members, listening to presentations about expansion plans for the next fiscal year. As the foundation's youngest board member, a position she'd insisted on earning rather than being handed, Catherine had spent the past year learning every aspect of the operation. Her phone buzzed during a budget presentation. A text from an unknown number. This is Marcus Harrison. I know you don't know me, but I'm your biological father. I'd like to meet you before you go to college. No pressure, just coffee. Please consider it. Catherine's stomach dropped. She'd known this day would come eventually, but she'd thought she'd have more time to prepare. She excused herself from the meeting, walked to her mother's office 3 floors up, and knocked on the door marked Maya Richardson, founder and CEO. Come in, Maya called. Catherine entered, closed the door behind her, and held out her phone without saying a word. Maya read the message, her expression carefully neutral, in that way Catherine had learned meant she was processing something significant. "How do you feel about this?" Maya asked, handing the phone back. "I don't know. Confused, angry, curious." Catherine sat down across from her mother. "He's never tried to contact me before. Why now?" "Probably because you're about to turn 18, and legally he can reach out without going through me." Maya's voice was measured, controlled. "What do you want to do? What do you think I should do?" "That's not my question to answer, baby. This is your choice. Your relationship with him, or lack of one, is yours to define." Catherine looked at her mother, at the woman who'd fought for her before she was even born, who'd built an empire to protect women like herself, who'd never once spoken badly about Marcus, despite having every reason to. "Tell me the truth," Catherine said. "All of it. Not the age-appropriate version you've been giving me. The real story." Maya took a deep breath, then spent the next hour telling Catherine everything. The birthday, the cruelty, the racism, the shelter, the discovery of Samuel, the public exposure. She showed Catherine documents she'd kept. The security footage, the recordings, the text messages. Evidence of exactly who Marcus Harrison had been 21 years ago. "Did he ever try to be a father?" Catherine asked when Maya finished. He had supervised visits scheduled twice a month. He attended maybe a third of them. He sent child support. The court-ordered amount, nothing extra. He sent birthday cards through his lawyer. He made minimal effort and claimed it counted. And now he wants coffee. "Now he wants coffee," Maya confirmed. "Because you're about to start at Harvard. Because you're beautiful and accomplished and everything he threw away. Because maybe he's changed. Or maybe he just wants to feel better about himself." Catherine stared at the phone in her hand. "If I meet him, does that betray you?" "No," Maya said firmly. "Never. You're allowed to be curious. You're allowed to want to know your biological father. That doesn't diminish what we have or what Grandpa Samuel has been to you." "But you destroyed his life." "I exposed his choices," Maya corrected gently. "There's a difference. And Catherine, if you meet him and decide you want a relationship with him, I'll support that. If you meet him and decide he's not worth your time, I'll support that too. This is your decision." Catherine sat with the weight of that for a long moment. Then she made her choice. "I'll meet him, once, just to see who he is. Then I'll decide." Marcus Harrison arrived at the coffee shop 30 minutes early, his hands shaking as he ordered tea he wouldn't drink. He'd rehearsed what he'd say 1,000 times, revised it 1,000 more. And now that the moment was here, every word felt inadequate. His daughter, the daughter he'd abandoned before she was born, walked in at exactly 2 p.m. She looked like Maya, but taller, with Samuel's sharp eyes and an air of confidence that reminded Marcus painfully of what he'd thrown away. Catherine ordered coffee, sat down across from him, and waited. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me," Marcus started, his voice uncertain. "I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't." The honesty was brutal, but fair. Marcus deserved nothing less. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything," he continued. "No right to be in your life, no right to call myself your father. But I needed, to tell you I'm sorry." "For what specifically?" Catherine's tone was clinical, detached. "For kicking my pregnant mother out? For stealing money meant for me? For attending maybe a third of the visitations you were allowed? For letting 21 years pass before trying to contact me directly? Which part are you apologizing for? Marcus flinched at each point. All of it. Every choice I made. I was young and stupid and influenced by people who should have known better. My parents, Amber, the whole situation. I let them convince me your mother was a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. You were 29 years old, Catherine said. That's not that young. Old enough to know better. You're right. I was old enough to know better. I just chose not to. They sat in silence for a moment. Other coffee shop patrons went about their business, unaware they were witnessing a meeting 21 years in the making. Why now? Catherine asked. Why reach out now when you could have tried years ago? Marcus looked down at his untouched tea. Honestly? Because I've been watching you from a distance. Seeing you on the Foundation's website, seeing articles about you joining the board, seeing you accepted to Harvard. And I realized you're about to start your adult life, and I've never been part of any of it. If I didn't try now, I'd lose my chance forever. You lost your chance 21 years ago. I know. You lost it when you laughed while your mistress spat in my mother's face. I know. You lost it when you celebrated with champagne after kicking out your pregnant wife. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I know. I've watched that security footage 1,000 times. I've listened to those recordings. I've read every article about what your mother built, what you're becoming. And I know I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing? Catherine's voice hardened. You mean my mother? The woman you kicked out for being black? The woman your family paid your mistress to help you get rid of? Yes, all of it. I was racist and cruel and stupid, and I've spent 21 years regretting it. Regret doesn't undo harm, I know. But I wanted you to know. I wanted you to hear it from me, that what happened wasn't your fault. You were wanted. You are wanted. I was just too broken to be worthy of wanting you. Catherine studied him. This middle-aged man with gray in his hair and regret in his eyes, and felt nothing. No anger, no love, no connection. He was a stranger who'd contributed DNA and nothing else. What do you want from me? She asked directly. Nothing, Marcus said. I don't want money or forgiveness or a relationship. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry. That I see what I did. That I know it was unforgivable. And that if you ever need anything, even if it's just to yell at me or tell me how much you hate me, I'll be there. I don't hate you, Catherine said, and watched surprise flicker across his face. I don't feel anything about you. You're not my father. Grandpa Samuel is my father. You're just the man who hurt my mother. The words landed like physical blows, but Marcus nodded. That's fair. That's more than fair. Catherine stood, gathering her things. I came here because I needed to see you, to understand who you were. Now I have. Thank you for the apology, but I don't think we need to do this again. Can I ask one thing? Marcus said quickly, desperately. Can I at least send you birthday cards? Can I know how you're doing? I don't need responses. I don't need anything back. I just want to know you're okay. Catherine considered this. It cost her nothing to let him send cards she might never read. And maybe, in some small way, it was the consequence he'd earned, knowing about her life, but never being part of it. You can send cards through the Foundation's main office. No personal address. And don't expect replies. Thank you, Marcus breathed. Thank you. Catherine walked out of the coffee shop and immediately called her mother. How did it go? Maya asked. He apologized. Said he regretted everything. Wanted me to know it wasn't my fault. And how do you feel? Nothing, Catherine said honestly. I thought I'd feel angry or sad or something. But he's just no one to me. Is that wrong? No, baby. That's exactly right. He doesn't get to be someone important to you just because of biology. He had 18 years to earn a place in your life and chose not to. You don't owe him emotions you don't feel. Did I do the right thing? Meeting him? There's no right or wrong here. You made a choice that worked for you. That's all that matters. That night, Catherine told Samuel about the meeting over dinner at his penthouse. How do you feel about it? Samuel asked, the same question everyone kept asking. Relieved, I think, Catherine said. I spent years wondering who he was, what he was like, if I was missing something by not knowing him. Now I know. I'm not missing anything. You're my father. You're the one who showed up. He's just a cautionary tale. Samuel's eyes got misty. You don't know what it means to hear you say that. It's true. You've been at every school play, every competition, every important moment of my life. You taught me about business and strategy and how to be strong without being cruel. That's what a father does. Your mother taught you more than I ever could. She taught me survival. You taught me how to thrive. I needed both. Catherine started at Harvard that fall, majoring in public policy with a focus on women's rights and social justice. She joined the Black Student Union, volunteered at local shelters, and spent winter breaks working at the foundation. Marcus sent birthday cards like he'd promised. Catherine opened the first one, a generic card with a $100 bill and a note saying, "Proud of you." She donated the money to the foundation and threw the card away. After that, she stopped opening them. In her sophomore year, Catherine started dating a guy named Jordan. Smart, kind, from a good family. Everything seemed perfect until she brought him home for Thanksgiving. Jordan was charming at first, complimented the penthouse, made good conversation with Samuel and Maya. But at dinner, when Catherine mentioned the foundation's latest initiative, Jordan said something that made everyone freeze. That's great that you help those women. But don't you think some of them are just looking for handouts? Like if they made better choices, they wouldn't need help. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Samuel's expression went cold, and Catherine felt something click into place, recognition of a pattern she'd been taught to watch for. What do you mean by that? Catherine asked carefully. Just that, personal responsibility matters. A lot of these women probably got themselves into bad situations. I'm not saying they deserve abuse, but maybe they should have chosen better partners. The way my mother should have chosen better? Catherine's voice was deadly quiet. Jordan, oblivious to the minefield he'd walked into, shrugged. I mean, no offense, but she married a guy who turned out to be racist and abusive. That was her choice. Catherine stood up. Get out. What? Get out of this apartment. Get out of my life. We're done. Catherine, I didn't mean... You meant exactly what you said. That women are responsible for the abuse they suffer. That my mother deserved what happened to her because she made bad choices. Get out. Jordan looked at Samuel and Maya for support, but found none. Samuel was already standing, phone in hand, calling security. Maya was looking at Catherine with undisguised pride. "You should leave," Maya said calmly, "before this gets more uncomfortable for you." After Jordan left, after the door closed and the three of them were alone, Catherine broke down crying. "I liked him," she sobbed. "I really thought he was different. How did I miss it?" Maya pulled her daughter into a hug. "Because people hide who they are until they feel safe enough to reveal it. You didn't miss anything. He showed you, and you handled it perfectly." "I feel stupid." "You're not stupid. You're discerning. You recognized the red flag the moment it appeared, and you ended it immediately. That's not weakness. That's strength." Samuel squeezed Catherine's shoulder. "Your mother is right. Some men are very good at hiding their true beliefs until they think they have you locked down. You caught it early. But what if I attract guys like that? What if I'm drawn to men like my biological father without realizing it?" Maya pulled back, looked her daughter in the eyes. "Listen to me. Marcus wasn't born cruel. He became that way by listening to the wrong voices, by valuing the wrong things, by choosing comfort over character. Jordan just showed you he's making the same mistakes. But you're not me at 25, trying to make a bad marriage work. You're you at 19, recognizing danger and walking away immediately. That's the difference." Over the next few years, Catherine dated carefully, watching for signs of the attitudes that had destroyed her mother's first marriage. She graduated Harvard with honors, got accepted to Yale Law School, and spent her summers working at the foundation. She also started speaking publicly about her story, not as victim's daughter, but as the product of survival, strategy, and strength. "I'm named after my grandmother," she told audiences at conferences and fundraisers. "A woman who worked herself to exhaustion to provide for her daughter. And I carry my mother's maiden name, Richardson, because she reclaimed it after my biological father kicked her out. These names aren't just identity. They're legacy. They're proof that survival is possible and that justice, when delivered correctly, echoes for generations." When Catherine was 23, finishing her first year of law school, Marcus Harrison reached out again. Not directly to Catherine this time, but through the foundation. The message came through official channels. A letter to the foundation's legal department requesting a meeting with Maya Richardson. Maya called Catherine before responding. "Your father, biological father, wants to meet with me. Says he has something important to discuss. What do you think?" "Why are you asking me?" "Because you're an adult now, and this involves you. If I meet with him, it might affect your life. I won't do it without your permission." Catherine thought about it. What could he possibly want after all this time? "I don't know, but I'm curious enough to find out." They met in a conference room at the foundation headquarters. Neutral territory with witnesses. William Chen attended on Maya's behalf. Marcus came alone. He looked older now, 50 years old, and worn down by years of living with consequences. He sat across from Maya, hands clasped, clearly nervous. "Thank you for meeting with me," he started. "You have 30 minutes, William said. "State your business." Marcus pulled out a folder. "I'm dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. I have maybe 6 months." Maya's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking to make amends, real amends." He pushed the folder across the table. "This is every asset I have. My life insurance policy, my 401k, some savings. It's not much. Maybe $200,000 total. I want it to go to Catherine. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but it's all I have. Maya opened the folder, scanned the documents. Everything appeared legitimate. Catherine doesn't need your money. I know she doesn't need it, but she deserves it. She deserves something from me that isn't pain or absence. What's the catch? William asked. What do you want in return? Nothing, Marcus said. I don't want to see her. I don't want forgiveness or reconciliation or even acknowledgement. I just want to do one thing right before I die. Maya closed the folder. I'll discuss it with Catherine. If she wants this, we'll arrange it. If she doesn't, donate it to the foundation. And one more thing, Marcus said quietly. My parents, Richard and Patricia, they're still alive, still bitter about what happened. When I die, they might try to contact Catherine. For money, for connection, I don't know. I wanted to warn you. Noted, William said. Is that all? Marcus looked at Maya, really looked at her. I know this doesn't mean anything, but I need to say it. What I did to you was unforgivable. You were kind and loving and everything good, and I destroyed it because I was weak and stupid and listened to the wrong people. Watching what you built, what Catherine became. I know I threw away everything that mattered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I know. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I forgave you years ago, Marcus. Not because you deserved it, but because carrying anger was exhausting. I built a life I love, raised a daughter I'm proud of, and found purpose in helping others. You don't factor into that anymore. You haven't for a long time. That's more than I deserve. Yes, Maya agreed. It is. Marcus died 4 months later. Catherine didn't attend the funeral. She accepted the life insurance money and donated every cent to St. Catherine's Shelter, the place that had taken her mother in when Marcus had thrown her out. He gave me $200,000, Catherine told the shelter's director. I'm giving it to women he would have considered worthless. That feels right. Marcus's parents, Richard and Patricia Harrison, did exactly what he'd warned. They contacted Catherine a week after the funeral, claiming they wanted to be part of her life, meet their grandchild, make amends for past mistakes. Catherine had them investigated first. Jordan Matthews, the same investigator who'd exposed Marcus 24 years earlier, discovered they were deeply in debt, had lost most of their wealth in bad investments, and were clearly looking for financial support. Catherine sent them a response through William Chen. You chose not to be my grandparents 24 years ago when you paid my father's mistress to help him abandon my pregnant mother. That choice was final. Don't contact me again. They tried anyway. Letters, phone calls, showing up at the foundation. Catherine had building security remove them each time, documenting every attempted contact in case restraining orders became necessary. Why won't they just give up? Catherine asked Maya after the 5th incident. Because they're desperate, Maya replied. And desperate people convince themselves they deserve things they don't. But you're doing exactly the right thing, maintaining boundaries, documenting everything, refusing to engage. That's what I taught you. Catherine graduated Yale Law School at 26 and immediately joined the Foundation's legal team. Her focus was on landmark cases, systemic change that would protect women beyond the individual level. She argued before state Supreme Courts. She testified before Congress. She wrote articles that were cited in judicial opinions. And at 28, she successfully argued a case before the United States Supreme Court that established new protections for pregnant women facing employment discrimination. The case made headlines. Catherine Richardson, daughter of abandoned pregnant woman, wins historic pregnancy discrimination case. The symmetry wasn't lost on anyone. Samuel, now 78 and slowing down, watched the Supreme Court arguments from the gallery with Maya beside him. "Your grandmother would be so proud," he whispered to Maya. "So would yours," Maya replied. After Catherine won the case, a 6-3 decision that would protect millions of women, she held a press conference on the Supreme Court steps. "This case was personal," she told reporters. 28 years ago, my mother was kicked out of her home while 8 months pregnant with me. She had no legal recourse, no protection, no way to fight back except through public exposure. This ruling means the next woman in that situation won't have to go public to get justice. She'll have the law on her side. A reporter asked, "Do you wish your biological father had lived to see this?" Catherine didn't hesitate. "No. This victory isn't about him or for him. It's about my mother, my grandmother, and every woman who's been told pregnancy makes them disposable. The men who made those choices don't get to share in this moment." That night, the foundation threw a celebration. 3 generations of Richardson women, Maya, Catherine, and the memory of Catherine Robinson, honored in speeches and toasts. Catherine stood to give her own speech, looking around the room at women the foundation had helped, at survivors who'd rebuilt their lives, at the team that made it all possible. "My mother taught me that justice isn't about revenge," she said. "It's about making sure the truth comes out so others don't get hurt the same way. My grandmother taught her that survival requires strength and patience. And together, they taught me that our stories, our painful, difficult, transformative stories, can become tools to protect others." She raised her glass. "To Catherine Robinson, who survived. To Maya Richardson, who thrived. And to every woman in this room who refused to let betrayal define her. We are Richardson women. We don't break. We win." The room erupted in applause. Later, alone in her apartment, Catherine called Maya. "Mom, are you awake?" "Always for you." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I was thinking about everything, about the birthday when you were kicked out, about the shelter, about Grandpa Samuel finding you, about all of it. And I realized something." "What's that?" "Marcus kicking you out was the worst thing that happened to you. But it was also the catalyst for everything good that came after. The foundation, Grandpa Samuel, all the women we've helped. None of it happens if he doesn't betray you." Maya was quiet for a moment. "That's true. But don't mistake consequence for justification. What he did was wrong, regardless of what came after. I built something good from something terrible, but that doesn't make the terrible thing any less terrible." "I know. I just mean, you turned pain into purpose. You taught me that's possible. And now you're teaching others. That's how legacies work, baby. We pass down survival strategies, each generation stronger than the last." They talked for another hour, mother and daughter, both lawyers now, both fighters, both proof that the Richardson women kept their promise. They survived, they thrived, and they won. 30 years after that November birthday, Maya Richardson stood in the same cemetery where her mother was buried, where she'd once received divorce papers at a graveside, where her entire life had pivoted. She was 57 now, still sharp, still active, but ready to transition the foundation's daily operations to Catherine while she focused on advocacy and speaking. Samuel, 83 and declining, stood beside her with his cane, still determined to be present for every important moment. Catherine, now 30, stood on Maya's other side, already making her mark as the foundation's legal director. They were there to dedicate a memorial, not to a person, but to a moment. A plaque that read, "In November 24 years ago, on this ground, Maya Richardson was handed divorce papers at her mother's funeral. From that moment of betrayal came the Catherine Robinson Foundation, which has since helped 100,000 women survive, recover, and thrive. This memorial honors not the pain, but the purpose it created. For every woman who's been told she's worthless, you're not. For every woman who's been abandoned, you're not alone. For every woman who wonders if survival is possible, it is. We are proof. Media had gathered for the dedication. Survivors stood in clusters, some crying, many sharing their own stories. A young woman approached Catherine after the ceremony. "I was kicked out last year, pregnant, nowhere to go. Your foundation's shelter took me in. Now I have an apartment, a job, and my daughter. I just wanted to say thank you." Catherine hugged her. "That's what we do. That's what my grandmother did for my mother. That's what the Richardson women have always done. We catch each other when we fall." That night, the three of them, Samuel, Maya, and Catherine, sat in Samuel's penthouse looking out at Manhattan. "I'm proud of you both," Samuel said. "Proud of what you built, what you became, what you're creating for the future." "We learned from the best," Maya replied, squeezing his hand. "Do you ever think about Marcus?" Catherine asked. "About what his life could have been if he'd made different choices?" Maya considered this. "Sometimes. He could have been here with us. Could have watched you grow up, seen you argue before the Supreme Court, been part of something meaningful. Instead, he died alone, full of regret, having spent 30 years watching from the outside. Do you feel bad for him?" "I feel bad that he wasted his life, that he let racism and weakness define him. But I don't feel responsible for his choices. He made them. He lived with them." "And if you could go back," Catherine pressed, "if you could change what happened, would you?" Maya looked at her daughter, at the strong, brilliant, purposeful woman she'd become. She thought about the foundation, the 100,000 lives changed, the Supreme Court victory, the legacy they'd built together. "No," Maya said finally, "because changing the past would change you. And you're perfect exactly as you are, born from pain, but not defined by it. You're proof that survival isn't just possible, it's powerful." Samuel raised his glass. "To the Richardson women, 3 generations of survivors, fighters, and winners." They toasted. 3 generations bound by blood and choice, by pain transformed into purpose, by a family that proved love was stronger than betrayal, justice was stronger than cruelty, and truth was stronger than lies. The Richardson women had made their promise 30 years ago on a cold November birthday. When everything fell apart, they'd kept that promise. They'd survived. They'd thrived. They'd won. And they'd made sure that every woman who came after them knew survival was possible, justice was achievable, and strength was inheritable. That was their legacy. That was their truth. And it would echo for generations to come, long after Marcus Harrison was forgotten, long after the pain faded, long after everything else fell away. Because the Richardson women didn't just survive betrayal. They transformed it into something that would protect thousands. That was the real victory. That was justice. That was love.